Hello and welcome to this game tutorial. I've just created this ball game and I want to now create this tutorial so that you can start from scratch. I've just created a new project and I've called it a bouncing ball game. All I've done is I've just I went to file new project and I gave it this name, bouncing ball project, and without importing anything default I just created and let the setups for defaults be there and just press create. When you do this, I am gonna save some time for this video. This is the kind of video, the scene that you should be expecting. So now the next thing I'm gonna do is to create a plane, and on that plane actually I would turn that around to adjust my camera so it comes in front of my camera and I see it as a 2D. So for that I just create a new plane. Okay, and I um, uh, basically give it its dimensions, or if it's okay with me I can actually go ahead and create the project with it. Otherwise I can actually extend this also. So for now what I will do is I will first of all give it some material because the size looks okay. And okay, so now since I've not imported any material, what I'd like to do is to give it some imported materials. Let's import some grass maybe, or some other um, um, let's say or I'll have to import something. I don't want to import anything. What I'll do is I'll just give it some plane. Yeah, so this is the type of plane and I'll just keep it very basic, and I'll just turn it around um, to 90 degrees. So I'll just make sure I've selected this one, and on the x-axis I'll rotate it to 90 degrees. So I see it standing over here. And then I'll just pull it upwards so it's not falling below the mesh. Okay. So the next thing I want to do is I'm gonna adjust my camera so that it is only watching this plane. Okay. So the way I can do it is right. So that's a very huge camera, and when I look at the preview, I am looking. My camera is looking somewhere else. So, so if I look at my camera, um, it's very far. I can change these views. So let's take it to change to orthographic view, and let's have a look where it is. Okay, yeah, that's where it is. So let's bring it closer to the wall. So the way is I look at my camera where it is viewing right now actually. So I point to my camera, click on it. Okay, it's somewhere behind the wall, so it is not supposed to be behind the wall. So what I am going to do is I'll actually change my wall so that it comes in front of the camera. So the way I can do it is flip it actually. So if I flip it, let's see if we can see here. So I turned it around 270 degrees and now I can see it in front of the camera. So yeah, the wall is there. So let's bring the camera a little bit closer to the wall, and maybe we can actually reduce the size of the camera also. Yeah, so now it was 30, so I changed it to 5, and you can if you're having a different figure you can adjust it according to yours. So yeah, so the wall is being seen clearly. The next thing I want to do is to add a directional light. So this guy is not very dark. So let's look at the game. Yeah, it's not very dark. It's okay. So the only thing is I need to adjust my camera a little bit so the wall is not out of sight. Okay, let's play this if it's any different. Yeah. Okay, it looks okay. The only thing is I might want to push back my camera a little bit so it covers the complete wall, or I can configure this view uh, in a way so that it can actually capture the complete wall. So let's click on these buttons, and they can actually help me increase the view the camera. So this is very far, so let's bring it back to maybe 500 or 50 is here. Okay, so let's click on these dots to enhance the size. Okay, so now it's much better, and if I play it, I can see the complete plane. Right, so the next thing I'm going to do is to create walls around this, and then create a sphere. Let's create a sphere first, and then I'll do the wall. Okay, so I'm going to go to create other, do sphere. This is my sphere, and let's for the purpose of, I'm just going to delete this now. For the purpose of ease of creating this game, I'll now switch to 2D, because this plane is now actually in practice a 2D game. This is what I want to do. I want to create a 2D game using Unity 3D. So what I'm going to do is I'll redo that. I'll create the sphere and I'll rename it my ball. Okay, and I'm going to see first of all, where is it? Okay, it's somewhere at the back. I don't want to be there, this thing to be there, so I'll position it to 0, 0 and 0, so I can see it. So this is relative to the camera. So the next thing I'm going to do is, okay, the next thing I'm going to do now is I will make sure the position of this ball is just in front of this plane and not overlapping it, and ensure there's a little bit of gap also, so that it does not run through inside the wall. Okay, so yeah, the ball is okay. The next thing I want to do is add physics to it. So physics, rigid body, make sure 100.05, use gravity. These settings are default, by the way, and when you play it, it should fall down. That's okay. And now the next thing I want to do is I'll create my racket, which should come in form of a cube. This is my cube, and I'm going to rename it to my racket. This is my racket, and I'll give it a size which is maybe 2, or okay, 2.5 is better, 0.5 and then 0.5. Okay, now this is much better. So I've got a racket here. Okay, it as well is at the back, so I'll switch back to maybe 2D first of all. Yeah, so I can position things much better. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is, which is something very pressing I need to do right now, is I will create a new material so I can apply it on my items, on my objects. So first material, I would like to call it ball material. Okay, and when you click over it, there's some texture, there's some color. I'm going to give it some color. Okay, any color, doesn't matter. So I'll give it to ball. So ball becomes red. The next thing I'm going to do is create another material and call it racket material, racket mat. This is the short form, and I'll give it another color by pressing here, and maybe some bluish, I don't know. Yeah, okay, a little bit darker side, that's a little bit more, okay, pleasant. And then I'll drop it in my racket, so I can see both of these options, so both of these game objects are. Let us drop this down. Okay, play it, and it just glides through it. Okay, so if I've just came out of my 2D mode, it's my 3D mode. The reason is it's not aligned with the ball. Okay, so I aligned it with the ball, and now if I try doing this, it should bounce on top of it and stop. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I want to lock the rotation of this ball along the z-axis. Okay, so let's click on this ball, and why I want to do that, because I don't want it to roll back and forward. I want to go it right and left and top and down. That's all. So it's going to freeze its axis on Z. Z is this axis. This axis. So this axis I want to freeze. So yeah, now it looks okay. and basically I have a ball which drops on my racket. That's all. The next thing I want to do is add bounciness to it. So for that bounciness, I want to create physics material. Right click and do physics material, and 0.4 is the default. Make it 1, which is the bounciness, which is maximum bounciness. This means if it bounces at 1, it is not going to lose energy. If it is 0.9, it is going to lose energy. The next time it bounces, it will be slower and slower and slower, and eventually it will stop. So friction, let's give it to minimum, and bounce combine it to maximum, and let's see what happens now. Nope. Okay. No. So this should bounce now. So let's see what's the problem. You guys know what the problem is? Okay. First of all, I want to do this. This physics material, I have to apply it on the ball before it can be uh, actually before it can start bouncing. So this is a sphere collider. There's a material over here. It says non-physics material. Just make sure this new physics material which I've created, I forgot to give it a correct name. Anyway, so let's play it now. It should bounce. Okay, so I've achieved an almost perfect bounce now through this. And yeah, it looks okay. So the next thing I want to do is create some more objects, which is going to be my bricks. So I'll create a new cube and I'll call it brick, and I'll drag and drop this over here so it becomes a material. Okay, before I do that, actually, sorry, I need to also give it some material. So let's create a material for my brick mat, and I'll give it some other texture, maybe some brownish something. Yes. Okay, so I'll drag and drop this on the brick, so the brick looks a little bit browny, not the chocolate and not the dessert brownie, but the brown color. And yeah, it looks okay. So the only thing I want to do is to maybe 1 so I'll make it 0.5. Yeah, so that looks better. It's a brown colored brick with 0.5 and 1. So now I'll drag and drop it over here under my assets, so it becomes a prefab. So whatever I apply, changes I do, all the materials, all the objects over here which are bricks will get those changes updated. So let's drag and drop this over here few times. Okay, so now I've got 3 bricks basically. So let's add more later on, and I would like to start the game at this time and see my bricks. Okay, now I didn't do it in the 2D mode. I should now start doing everything in my 2D mode. So this is wrong. So let's now get rid of this. I don't like it too much. So yeah, again, so I've got this brick set up. Yes. The only problem is it's going behind the wall a little bit, so I'll click on each of my bricks and bring it just in front of the wall, so it does not pierces through the wall. Even this racket is supposed to be a little bit more wider, so I'll go to the z-axis, make it a little wider. Okay, so that looks alright now. What happened to it? Okay. Sure, let's do the bounce again, and the bounce is working, and let's see if I can make it hit this guy, this brick. What happens now? Not quite often. Alright, so just let's leave that. Now, since my game object is finished, I would like to add some some scripts. So let's create new script, and the script I want to do is, this is my ball script, and I want to basically have this ball started off with some force. So I have this I have this rigid body dot add force. We know what does it do. And now you've got a few options actually. You can do this vector 3. 3 is actually all 3 dimensions x, y, and z dot up. So this will force it to up and multiply by 15. So this is one option you have. And if you apply it on the ball, where is my ball? This is my ball. Drag and drop this on the ball. Okay, and then when you see in the beginning, it will have some force on the 15 on your ball. Okay, so the other option is to actually delete this and have rigid body dot add force 100, maybe 400 f, and then you can have this f here also, and then 0. So let's do this. What happens? So I'll tell you what the 100 does in the beginning. So I want it to drag. I just don't want it to just drops, straight the first time. The first time it happens, I want it to drag towards right side. 100 f is positive right, so it's right side, minus is on the left side. So let's check this. It should go to the left side now. Yeah. So this is how it does. This is how it bounces. One second, let me just check my email. I'll come back. Okay. The next thing I want to do is add some script on my racket. So I'll create a new script, my JavaScript for racket, and I open it, and the only thing I want to do is to move it actually along the right and left key. So I know this input.getAxis, and I know horizontal returns a value, and I do this horizontal and it's an if actually is greater than 0, then it's a right. So what you should do is you should transform dot translate 10 points, right? 10 points of whatever points you'd like to. Okay, so let's have it 10f and towards right, but not towards y and z. But when you do this, make sure you multiply it by time dot delta time, meaning from the last frame up till now, how much ever time has been passed. Time dot delta time. So from last frame up till now, only 10 frames should be moved. So if only it is greater than 0, meaning if it's the right key being pressed. Alright. Okay, and if it's not the right key, then if input.getAxis is less than 0, let me fill this up over here, horizontal axis is less than 0, then I do this transform dot translate, and I actually shift it minus 10 f into time dot delta time. This is all x 0 0. So this happens only for the racket. I want to move it towards right and left. That's all. Okay, the next thing I want to do is whenever there's a collision, if you see my game which is working now, I want to add some force maybe to the ball. Whenever there's a collision, it should bounce a little bit more quickly. So there's a script that I can do for that in Unity. So it's a new function on collision enter, and what I can do is I can define the call object, which is a collision. So it's a variable name which I've given actually, and you can go and search online on Google. Just the collision. So Unity collision. As soon as you look at this, you should be landing at this page, collision, and then Whenever there's a collision with with a collider or with a contact is a part of the object on with which your game object is colliding, etc. So you can look at the documentation from here and see what happens. So let's move back. I want to do something when the collision. So I'm going to do this if call dot col, which is my this not this color, col dot rigid body, meaning if it's a rigid body, then do something. What is that something? Let me just tell you. I'd like to hit this back with a little bit of bounce. So this is call dot rigid body dot add force, and now you can use the other option which I've told you, vector 3 dot up with some slight force, maybe 5. Okay, and now when you see, I just saved it. And I can now go through my Unity object, which is my Unity game. This game, sorry about this. Yeah, and now I can observe it's a little bit faster. Whenever it collides with my racket, it should be a little bit faster. So this racket, if it has the script only, so let's apply the script on the racket first. Okay, so the racket script is there. Let's observe this now. Okay, no. Let me just move my. It gets a little bit faster with time. Okay, the next thing I want to do is I want to destroy these bricks if it is clicking it. So there's a simple code for that also. Create JavaScript brick script. There's a script over here which I will place on a function called on collision enter, and I will do this. Give it a this has to be also an object, collision, and I will do this destroy and game object, and I'll save this. Let's go back to Unity and see if it's happy with the script. Destroy game object. So the next thing it should do is to destroy these. Okay, no, not quite. Let's also apply it now as a brick script. I have to apply this on all bricks. So I click on drag and drop this on one brick, and then I click apply. It should now apply it on all the bricks. See, it's always. So this is the benefit of having a prefab. So let's control my racket. Wow. Okay. Good. So it is now. Yeah. So I've got a game. Wow. And only that it's falling outside my plane. I need to create walls so it doesn't fall through.